All right.
Can we execute a trade quick?
Okay,
Oh,
this one.
all right.
Is that your good sign?
Yeah. Neither one is my good side. Sonia, Vallabh, and Minikel are a wife and husband research team investigating neurodegenerative diseases, in which they have a personal stake. You were working as a consultant, and your mother became ill.
I was actually still in law school, so this was in 2010, when she first started falling ill, because that was in February. And in March, I talked to her on the phone, and she couldn't get from the beginning of a sentence to the end. By summer, she really couldn't communicate at all. She had lost so much weight and muscle mass that she couldn't really move at all on her own. And that is about when she went into, a series of hospital stays that lasted until the end of her life. The mystery of it was just devastating.
Sonia later found out that her mother died of a rare condition known as fatal familial insomnia. It's a disease where infectious proteins known as prions spread throughout the brain, causing adjacent proteins to misfold until the brain stops working. Unlike other prion diseases, like mad cow disease, this one is primarily genetic. When Sonia got tested, she discovered she has the same genetic mutation as her mother and is almost certain to develop the disease and die around age 50. There's no treatment or cure. After finding this out, Sonia and her husband Eric quit their jobs as consultants to become PhD students at Harvard to study prion diseases full-time. They have less than 2 decades to find a treatment. Their approach is part of a new movement being called precision medicine. When did you first come to the term precision medicine?
State of the Union last year.
And when did you realize how applicable that was to your own work?
I think immediately we were like, he's talking about the kinds of things that we want to do, right?
Yeah.
It's using genetic information about what is the cause of an individual person's disease to develop a therapy.
Absolutely.
Sonia and Eric came to Washington to attend a meeting on what's being called the Precision Medicine Initiative. Its ultimate goal is to understand conditions like prion diseases at a molecular level, and thereby understand and treat more common diseases more effectively and more efficiently. The 2016 budget is around $200 million. Sonia and I were invited to speak with the president about the initiative.
Something that I should have mentioned that Sonia's story, I think, highlights. So often, what we label as a healthcare system is actually more of a disease care system. And one of the promises of precision medicine is not just giving researchers and medical practitioners tools to help cure people. It is also empowering individuals to monitor and take a more active role in their own health.
The Precision Medicine Initiative is really about data. One project, led by the National Institutes of Health, is to gather the results of medical tests and records from 1 million volunteers. All will agree to have their entire genomes sequenced, a record of every gene in their bodies, and uploaded to a cloud that can be accessed by researchers. The project requires collaboration among scientists, policymakers, and technologists in the private and public sectors. You spearheaded the initial human genome project. How much did it cost to sequence a genome then?
That first human genome that we finished in 2003 cost about $400 million.
And how much does it cost to sequence a genome today?
About 1,000.
So, don't you wish you could go back in time and sell some genomes?
If I was a smarter businessman, I would have thought of that, but I didn't.
As you well know, medicine has an interesting historical relationship with data where we tend to think, oh, we should just acquire as much as we can, and then before we quite know what to do with it, ends up, the history of screening tests,
Sure.
PSAs, and things where we get ahead of ourselves. Do you think that's a potential here? Could it have negative consequences?
Well, you're certainly right that we should learn from our past flubs, because if we really want to find out whether having your entire genome sequence is valuable for keeping you healthy or managing illness if it occurs, Well, let's try that out. This is not just about genome sequence. This is also about environmental exposures. It's about health behaviors. It's about what's happening in your body as you walk around every day using wearable sensors. I've got a couple of them on right now. I don't think we'll ever really understand what the genome is telling us unless you have collected that other data, because, you know, most things, it's environment, it's genetics, it's some mix of the two. If you haven't looked at the environment, you're not going to understand what the genetic part is telling you.
Nobody is saying that this is easy. When you're talking about the genome of millions of people, you're pretty soon talking about exabytes of data. Exabytes are billions of gigabytes of data.
The cloud's going to be so big, it's going to
huge amounts of data.
rain.
That's a challenge. Yeah. Interoperability among different sources of data is an enormous challenge. We've been working on that for years, but it is worth doing. It is worth chewing on these challenges, finding ways to overcome them, because the benefits to society are going to be immense.
When people donate this data, it is very private, and that can be make people hesitant. How do you give them a feeling of security about taking part?
So this is a public-spirited group, I should say. But of course they value the privacy and security of their data, and we are determined to protect it, and we will protect it.
Are you going to be donating your genome to the cohort?
Absolutely.
I would have been surprised if you said no.
In fact, I plan on open sourcing my genome.
Oh, for the entire internet?
For the entire internet. I'll put it up on BitTorrent.
Oh, is there a place like a GitHub?
So there's a project called the Personal Genome Project. It's run at the Harvard Med School, where yeah, you can donate your genome to the public. And I firmly believe in open data. And so actually my genome is being sequenced right now, or really resequenced. And as soon as I've got that, I plan to put it online.
With your name attached to it?
Sure, I'm happy to attach my name.
Wow.
Well, you know, there are some hypothetical risks.
Yeah.
I mean, someone could take my DNA and maybe at some point clone my blood and plant it at a crime scene. I just think these risks are reasonably remote.
The most recent data on lifespans in America shows increasing disparity between the rich and the poor, between the top 10% and bottom 10% of incomes. Disparity in men is 14 years. Right. So how do we ensure that a program that seems to be investing in high-tech medicine isn't exacerbating that disparity?
Part of those disparities have to do with simple low-tech issues. Low-income persons having access to regular checkups and primary care. You know, are they getting access to good food? You know, those are the kinds of issues that we as a society should solve generally without reference to precision medicine or high-tech solutions. Obviously, the Affordable Care Act generated a lot of bipartisan
I heard about that.
rancor, but even if you don't like how we've designed the Affordable Care Act, this is why having some mechanism for universal health care is going to be so important, because the breakthroughs we see in medicine are going to be significant over the next several decades. We can't have a society, a democracy can't function if it's not just that some people have a bigger house or a bigger car, but they are living 20 or 30 years longer than people who don't have money.
And so while you're emphasizing that everyone is very different in ways we're just beginning to understand, by pooling all of that data and understanding those differences together, we collectively benefit.
We may think, because we look different on the surface, that there are these vast differences. It may turn out that the key to you curing your disease is understanding my disease or my genetic makeup. And part of what makes this exciting, but also difficult, is getting people to recognize that at base, for all our differences, we have more in common than separates us.
We share 99.9% of our DNA. And not just you and I, but all people. If you set out initially to examine the causes of one particular disease and end up understanding pathways that affect many diseases, some as common as dementias, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, frontotemporal dementia, could the implications of your research end up being much bigger than you ever expected?
Absolutely. You know, right now, there's no neurodegenerative disease that's treatable. You know, at most we have Band-Aids. You know, we need a proof of principle that it's possible to treat a protein misfolding disease, and that's going to pave the way for treating a lot of other diseases.
I think you guys are going to do it.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate the vote of confidence.
I hope so.